I've got a new baby, and I still hate Florida. They snatched the jaws. They snatched defeat from their victory, whatever it is. They almost lost, and I'm mad that they won. That's all I'm saying. I'm Tennessee Bradley. I'm not getting a whole lot of sleep with a new baby who's just about I don't know, 9 days old. With me is Alabama Chris. Chris, it's good to be back with you.
Hey man, I know, I remember those days of not much sleep and then trying to wake up and make sense of the world, and making sense of a world where Florida almost loses to Samford would have been an exciting one to live in, but it's not quite in the cards for this year. So we can be happy for the new baby though. So let's be excited for that, and then maybe Samford will get them down the line somewhere.
Yeah. So today, I mean, because my world's been turned upside down. We didn't have a Monday morning quarterback this last week. We'll do some of that. Yeah. We'll look at the scores from last weekend, make our picks in pregame. That is what we do here on the third Saturday in October, your SEC Tailgate podcast for the rest of us. So let's get right to it. Chris, Alabama had a very convincing win over New Mexico State, 59-3.
Yeah.
Give me some thoughts.
Man, I mean, we looked good. It was New Mexico State. But I'm pleased for a win. I'm pleased to get out of there with not more injuries than we had. I was talking to my dad and my brother over the weekend. And it's like, man, these games like New Mexico State, they feel like they're good for two things, like padding stats and injuring players that we need for more impactful games. And so it did happen a little bit. There was one point too, it reminded me of Tua a year or two ago when things were looking good. Year or two ago, where we sent him back in. I think it was against Mississippi State, where the game was pretty much in hand, but we gave him another series or two in the second half, and that's when he went down with that traumatic season-ending, almost career-ending hip injury that required surgery, and for him to be carted out on a medical stretcher. So it was nervous when I saw Bryce Young take a few of those hits. But all in all, things look better. We are improving in areas. I feel like the defense is gelling in a way that if we can hold this, it's really going to set us up for the remainder of the season and then possible postseason fun that we could have. So it was good. It was New Mexico State. But this week we got Arkansas. So it's time to get serious. It's time to settle in. We've got two more regular season games against two teams that this year we've seen go from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows as far as their expectations go. And we'll talk about that more in a minute. But that's how I felt like Alabama did. Really good for what it was. But you can tell. Even Nick Saban, who usually holds his tongue with things like this, is kind of mentioned in the post-game interview as he's running off the field that he's like, hey, we're going to be playing a team that's much better than this next year. And usually he doesn't compare teams and they're, even when they're playing somebody like New Mexico State. But he said a few things of like, yeah, this is inferior competition, so to speak. But now we need to get ready for these next two games to end out the season. So I'm pumped for it, a little nervous for it because of the implications that it has. How about you in Tennessee? I know we'll get to these down the line a little bit, but hey, man, I thought it was a respectable showing against Georgia.
I did too. Tennessee held a lead there in the first half. But you really see like against Alabama, you're competitive for a little bit, but then depth really comes back to bite you in the butt. I think Tennessee's got about 50 scholarship players. You're allowed, I think it's 85 or something. So you're playing with fewer people than most teams. But yeah, really excited for what's to come. We'll see how Josh Heupel recruits. Some things this week on the message boards and in different places. High school players are visiting Tennessee and then decommitting from the school where they're currently committed. So not sure if that means they're now leaning towards Tennessee or if they just saw Tennessee and said, you know what, I may want to check out a few more places. We'll see how that all shakes out. But I do think he's doing a great job at developing the players we have.
Yeah.
Because most of the people who are making plays are either players who were already there, like Tillman, like um, Jalen Hyatt is making plays as well. Jabari Small, those guys were already there. Our offensive line's doing really well. Those guys were already there. But then he did bring in some transfer portal guys. So really excited to see that. Excited to hear guys like Nick Saban and Kirby Smart say, how do you plan for this offense? You can't simulate it in practice.
Mhm.
And it changes every week. I mean, they do kind of the same things, but it's new plays. Everybody who has to scheme against Josh Heupel says it's just so hard to compete against things that you haven't seen. So you just have to have a really disciplined defense for that. So I'm really excited about that. Just interesting thing of note from your game, Alabama plays New Mexico State. They should be getting a lot of frequent flyer points because they are going to Kentucky again this weekend. So, disappointing loss, 41-17. Tennessee falls to Georgia, but it's Georgia. I guess the moral victories, we've scored more points against Georgia than anybody. But like Alabama, just pulling away at the end for a couple reasons. One, depth, but also trying to force some things and really make plays at the end of the game. You take bigger risks, and sometimes it just doesn't go your way. It went our way against Kentucky. It did not go our way against Alabama and Georgia. So really excited for where this program could be headed.
Gosh, yes.
But I want to finish out strong. We've got South Alabama and we've got Vanderbilt. Let's get those 2 wins. Let's get to 7-5. Let's get to a bowl, and let's try to win that bowl and show the SEC's dominance for middle of the pack teams. That's right.
Yeah, I completely agree. I feel like that the narrative around Tennessee from the beginning of the season, preseason expectations to now is kind of night and day. It seems like they went from one of those teams where like, well, we hope that this is the answer, and we hope that they, maybe get to 50% win ratio here in this season, but we don't know what to expect. And then it was like, well, maybe Tennessee is just going to have another one of those seasons where we're all hoping, well, Tennessee may be back next year kind of thing. But they have really shown in the second half of this season that they're headed in that right direction. And again, I think that several teams either on purpose or inadvertently took advantage of the fact of just, if you keep Tennessee out there long enough, they wear out because they did it last week and 2 weeks before that. And so, the idea of teams being able to scheme against that exhaustion factor because Tennessee has played so many games to the wire as hard as they could for as long as they could. It looks like that part of Georgia's plan was just let's get them tired here because if we can do that, then we can kind of control things. But that's easily fixable with conditioning and getting ready. So I am really looking at Tennessee to take a huge leap between where they were at the beginning of this season, how they've improved, and into next season. I think they're going to be dangerous, man.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest complaint against Tennessee is how would you say this? The prolificity, I don't know. Again, not a lot of sleep of their offense because I missed the first few seconds of the Kentucky game. And I mean, I missed a touchdown. Then the next drive, I think, and I'm trying to check my notes, but I think I've moved them. It was like under a minute and a half that they had the ball for a total of 2 drives for 14 points. I mean, how's your defense supposed to get any rest when all they get is a glorified commercial break? between series. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
anyways, that's how our teams did. Let's look at some other teams from last week. A couple surprises. One, Mississippi State tops Auburn 43-34. I mean, Auburn putting up 34 points seems pretty good. Mississippi State being able to go out and score 43. I mean, it shouldn't be surprising, but it is surprising because those air raid Pirates are so unpredictable. Just further proof that Mississippi State is the most unpredictable team for me in the SEC West, maybe in the SEC. I just don't know how they're going to perform week to week.
I don't either. But this is one thing that I, trying to look, and everybody listening or watching, Bradley and I talk a lot about how we don't really pay attention to stats here because we love just the feel of the game and the pageantry of the game and the fan aspect of the game, not necessarily all those details like that. But it has been impressive to watch Mississippi State and their stats get better over the week. So last year for me, they were completely unpredictable. This year for me, the first half, still there, just like I'm scratching my head after every game of like, I can't believe they won that game. And the next week it's like, I can't believe they lost that game. But it does seem like that Mike Leach is his vibe, the way that he coaches, the air raid style offense, like it's starting to catch, it feels like. And so, again, kind of like Tennessee for 2022, I'm really looking at Mississippi State to be one of those, maybe not top of the tier in the SEC West, but right up there though. Like maybe right below the potential of the Alabamas, or maybe currently how we're seeing Texas A&M play. So it's going to get fun, even more fun. And now with some, are we looking at Lane jumping ship again to go from Ole Miss to Miami at this point? I've heard some rumors that, if there is interest, if there is a coach vacancy in Miami, that Lane is open to talk. And again, I don't know how this stuff gets out, but somehow it does. So we'll see what that means. But I love the state of Mississippi right now.
Yeah. I mean, you've got Alabama, who's still on top. You've got Auburn with a promising new coach. Mississippi State can make a push. Ole Miss is making a push currently. Arkansas, is still ranked in the top 25. Is LSU the only true weak link in the SEC West? And still, look what LSU is doing. I'm looking at you, Florida. I don't know. It's the top may not be as strong, but who do you say is really bad in the SEC West? Because I don't know. I guess it has to be LSU at 4-6. But still, at LSU on a year that they fire their coach, still being able to get some quality wins.
Yeah.
That's also surprising. The other game that was really surprising, Samford 52, Florida 70.
What is up? 122 points?
Florida almost lost to Samford.
Ooh, yeah. That's wild, hilarious, exciting, bizarre. It's like almost every adjective I can use for that game and how it played out. I was looking at it like, okay, I know, conceivably, I know that Florida is coming back to win this game and to win it convincingly, but how is Samford ahead right now? We are well into the second quarter. And yet they kept hanging around. And even with a score 70-52, they scored 52 points on a traditionally dominant SEC team. So bravo, you Bulldogs down in Birmingham, for showing how you can play against the Florida Gators. And then come on, Dan Mullen, your attitude continues to tick me off every week with how you can downplay one game and then get mad at us when we are talking about things in a way that doesn't put you and your team in the best light. I don't know, man. Dan Mullen just week after week continues to kind of disappoint me in how he handles things. But this is the Dan Mullen that I've known to love to hate and hate to love.
Yeah. cousin Eddie over there on the sidelines for Florida. I I think he kept his job for another week, which is promising for Tennessee. Let him keep his job next year. Hopefully Tennessee can win then. We'll move on from there. Missouri squeaks out a win against South Carolina 31-28. Ole Miss beat Texas A&M 29-19. Again, A&M a little unpredictable. Lost a couple games, then beats Alabama. So not sure where that's going to end up. Ole Miss battling some injuries and kind of overcoming those against A&M. Then Kentucky beats Vanderbilt 34-17, and Arkansas needs overtime to beat LSU 16-13. So fun weekend of football.
Man.
To be sure. And our pick'em winners. From week 10, nickname Saban came in first. Week 11,
I like that guy.
Second or third best. So I think also these pick'em winners win nickname of the week as well. So congrats there. We got some games coming up. Again, it's going to be hard to pick, but let's do it. So starting at 11 a.m. on the SEC network, Charleston Southern going to number 1 Georgia. No line on this game, so I had to make one up. Let's say Georgia by 38. I'm taking Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, anytime that Georgia is playing, regardless of what that spread is, especially for this year, or maybe at least for this year, I'm picking Georgia to take it home. And I can't see it. Just feels like at this point, judging against the team, even if in my mind I feel like that over 30 and the point spread is too extreme, I'm watching teams like Georgia do it every week. So maybe I just need to move that line from where it used to feel like maybe in the old school SEC mindset that I have, that a spread like 30 plus is just insanity. But now we live in an SEC where that happens every week. So I picked Georgia to take that with even maybe more, maybe 50 points that I would still pick them in the spread category. So regardless of what you put down there for that number, I was picking Georgia. So let's go Dogs.
And then Prairie View visits Texas A&M again on the SEC network at 11. Again, making up a line, we'll make it 38. And I am still taking Texas A&M. I mean, Prairie View, what it says they're 7-2, but what could their enrollment be? Like 1,000? I've never heard of this college or university. So Texas A&M by 38 for me.
Yeah, me too. Again, I think coming off a loss to Ole Miss, that like, what can you really prove if you go from losing to Ole Miss to completely dominating Prairie View? But I mean, they have to do that in order to, if they don't cover, even if we're making up the line here ourselves, I think that they need to prove that they can battle back from a loss. And so again, easy A&M pick for me.
Yeah. And rounding out our 3-course meal at 11 on SEC network, we have Tennessee State visiting Mississippi State. I put a line of 25 here, and I'm still going with Tennessee State.
Ooh, nice, man.
Yeah, I unpredictable. I don't know what Mississippi State's going to do.
True. I picked Mississippi State just to continue to try to increase that trend of the air raid looking like it's supposed to with Mike Leach at coach. So I just think that Mississippi State is going to use this as an opportunity to continue to pad those stats.
Well, and then at 2:30, CBS Game of the Week, we have the Razorbacks visiting the Crimson Tide. Yep. The Tide, a 20.5 point favorite. I had to go with Arkansas because of some of these close games that Alabama's had. They have not seemed as dominant. Do I think they'll still win by 10, 14, maybe even 20 points? But at 20.5 or 21. It's shifted a little bit since I made this form, but I got to go with the Razorbacks.
Yeah, I think that's a respectable choice there, especially when maybe Alabama, maybe the players. I know the fan base. We're already looking ahead to the Iron Bowl a week from there. Not to take anything away from the Razorbacks, because what they're doing up there in Arkansas is pretty spectacular to watch. Again, just taking a team that is now in the conversation where they haven't been recently, but also knowing. Again, it's hard sometimes because Saban, I think, he could care less what the spread is. He just wants to make sure that he wins and wins in the style that allows them to continue to play the way that they want to play. And so it's almost like Alabama doesn't play the opponent, they play themselves and trying to get better, sort of thing. And I say that because I've heard people or Saban say things like that, and their players say that same thing. I look to maybe see this game as maybe we're coalescing into that complete team that we need to be, that we haven't been most of the season, but hopefully this is what we need to really push into the next section of this season, which is looking to get past these two last SEC opponents so that we can make a strong push into the college football playoff conversation. So I feel like that Alabama is going to do a good job, and I'm going to say they take the points there with 20.5 or 21.
So what you're saying is my pick is respectable. It's just wrong. I can ride with that. Then at 3:00 on again the SEC network. A lot of games on the SEC network. I love the SEC network. I get to watch all the football I want. Florida visits Missouri. Florida an 8.5 point favorite. I'm going with Missouri.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just Florida's not played well on the road. I don't think. And they scored a lot of points, but there's just not a lot of life in that defense, it seems.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing. I'm actually picking Florida to cover, but that was the hardest part about making my pick, was wondering if Florida's defense is going to show up. This is, again, one of those where I could see Dan Mullen trying to make a point and then getting mad at us that we didn't believe in him the whole time. And so I'm wondering if this is one of those games where, coming off of that Samford near defeat, and again, it was by 20 plus points that they won, but the near defeat when you're playing someone like Samford and you allow them to score 50 plus points. But, Florida was able to score 72. So this may be one of those where Dan Mullen just runs up the score to go like, see, I told you, sort of thing. And again, this is my mindset because love to hate the guy, but I'm picking Florida.
Yeah. And then at 6:00 on ESPN, Auburn visits South Carolina. Auburn without Bo Nix. A couple other players got hurt, but I'm taking Auburn as a 7.5 point favorite.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, I'm doing the same. This is a rare choose the same one this week with that. I think that coming off of a loss, Auburn can focus up, and even without Bo Nix and I think a wide receiver. Now that I'm saying that, I'm sticking with Auburn. I'm going to stick with my choice here, but it does throw a wrench into the plans when you're looking at all those injuries that they have, especially Bo Nix. But I've seen this year in the SEC a quarterback without as much experience as a starter comes in and just completely impresses everybody. So maybe this could be one of those for Auburn. But it's hard for me to choose against Auburn when they're playing South Carolina. So I'll stick with Auburn.
Yeah. And then we've got Tennessee taking on South Alabama. This would be a perfect game for, homecoming, but we played homecoming last weekend against Georgia. Brilliant, I tell you. Tennessee, a 28 point favorite at home at 6:30 on ESPNU. And I'm going with Tennessee. Offense seems to be doing what it needs against just about everybody except the nation's top defense and the nation's top team. So, I think Tennessee wins pretty easily by 28.
I agree. I think that Tennessee shows us again, kind of in the way that I was describing Alabama, that they are gelling as a team at the right time to show us all what they need to, what everybody needs to see to put them in a proper place for the postseason. So, yeah, I say Tennessee takes this by 28.
And then Vanderbilt, go ahead. I'm sorry. Then Vanderbilt travels down to Oxford. 2-8 Vanderbilt going to 8-2 Ole Miss at 6:30 on the SEC network. Ole Miss favored by 36.5. With all the injuries, I'm going with Vanderbilt to like 35. You know.
Yeah, it'll be 35-0, but it will be right below that spread.
Yeah.
Eric, let's make it interesting. I'm picking Ole Miss with this one. I feel like that it's Vandy. Sorry, all you Vandy fans. But yeah,
there are actual Vandy fans.
I at least know one, comedian Nate Bargatze, who I've shouted out on this show before. I love him. He's my favorite comedian. And it was, that's his favorite team. And so part of me wants Vandy to win, just so I know that Nate's somewhere in the world doing comedy and smiling a little bit more because the Commodores won one, but that doesn't happen very often. So I say Ole Miss takes this one.
And then we've got the nightcap at 8:00 on ESPN2. UL Monroe goes to LSU. LSU, a 29-point favorite. I mean, I don't trust LSU. I mean, I don't know that Arkansas's defense is that great. They only scored 13 points. I don't know if they scored in overtime, but they got, the full 60 minutes plus overtime and only get 13 points. I'm going with UL Monroe.
Me too. Again, I think that LSU wins this and wins it handedly. I just don't think that they have enough firepower to overcome that 29-point spread there. So I'd take UL Monroe. Maybe the first time I've ever chosen them in a pick'em league, but I'm picking them today. So yeah, it looks like we're in lockstep there.
Yeah. So
hey, do we actually New Mexico State at Kentucky with a 36-point spread? I don't remember us talking about that. Just to make sure that we didn't skip over one.
You know what? That's right, because we've got it's not a 3-course meal, it's a 4-course meal. Good catch.
Yummy.
We can't forget dessert. Yes, New Mexico State at Kentucky at 11 a.m. again on the SEC network. Kentucky by 36, and I'm going with New Mexico State. I saw Kentucky's offense a couple weeks ago, but I also saw him against Vanderbilt, only score 34 points. So I don't know that Kentucky can score just at will like they could a couple weeks ago. I think part of that was due to Tennessee's defense just being so tired. So yeah, I'm going with New Mexico State to keep it respectable and under 36.
When I was making these picks, I was going down the list and I was like, yeah, SEC team here, SEC team here, SEC team here. Even the teams that are playing other SEC teams, I picked an SEC team to win in those. And I was going to do a whole, thanks. An SEC slate of just like picking them all. So I did pick Kentucky here, but then LSU came and spoiled it because at the very end with that spread that LSU has against UL Monroe, I couldn't in good conscience pick LSU to be able to cover that 28, 29 points. So even though I picked Kentucky for here, in this instance, even though that's a lot of points, and I kind of agree with you that I could see New Mexico State keeping it at least 35 or below, I did end up picking Kentucky here. So I didn't get to do the whole SEC slate, just picking an SEC team. But thanks, LSU. I just can't. I don't have quite the faith in you that I need to be able to pick you winning by that many points against UL Monroe.
Yeah. Well,
somehow I picked a Kentucky score to drag LSU even further. So sorry for all of you fans of the Bayou Bengals, but
right.
Yeah, it's just another one of those off years for you.
Yeah. Well, those are our picks. I believe that's all of them. So you can make your picks by going to thirdsaturday.october.com and getting signed up for our Pick'em League there. Our picks are in. That means there's one thing left to do.
Pre-game!
Tailgate, man cave, living room, pregame, burgers, ribs, chicken wings, chip and dip, pregame, scotch and a lot of IPA, Coca-Cola, pregame, slaying dogs, EA, cornhole, pregame. How you gonna watch?
So, Chris, Saturday, how are you watching the CBS game of the week against the Arkansas Razorbacks?
I love it when Alabama plays in that 2:30 CBS slot or 3:30 if you're on the west or the East Coast. I enjoy it so much. It just feels like I like the commentating. I like the for whatever reason it just feels like tradition to play on CBS, and I know that's going away soon with some of the new rights to showing the games here in the next couple of years. But I always have a soft spot in my heart for that CBS game of the week. Going to be enjoying that. Trying to stay warm. It's been a chilly November here in Middle Tennessee, so I'm going to try to stay warm by staying inside quite a bit. Maybe do a charcuterie board. Maybe not a big meal like a big bowl of chili like we've done in recent weeks, but maybe just have a spread that we can kind of graze on all week. So that's my plan. Watching some football, staying warm, and kind of grazing all day food wise. How about you?
I love it. Yeah. My evening will probably be between trying to give my wife some relief with the kids.
I bet.
And also just trying to get the older one down for bed, all that. But we'll see what happens with a virtual tailgate. So get signed up. We may only do it for a few minutes at the beginning. We may only do it for a few minutes at the end, but get signed up for our virtual tailgate over at thirdsaturday-in-october.com as well. We always have a great time, whether it's just for a few minutes, whether it's for the whole game, whether it's just a couple of us or a bunch of us. It's always a good time. So I'm very excited about the possibility of getting bowl eligible this weekend for Tennessee. I'm very excited about the possibility of finishing the regular season, not just at 500, but possibly over 500. First year coach with a lot of people transferring out. This is positive.
A lot of potential.
So I'm really excited.
Man.
I think 2021 is ending well, it seems. But yeah, November's looking pretty good. They remember what you do in November, and we're doing some good stuff.
Absolutely.
Up in Knoxville. So I don't know what to say other than just roll Vols.
Yeah, buddy. Well, hey, congratulations to you and your family. I'm glad that you were able to take a couple of days to really spend with them before you get back here with us. But as the third Saturday in October family continues to grow, I want to shout it back to your new one and all of those folks out there watching and listening. Roll Vols, baby.